and you're coming to them. And like Dan's saying, the points they picked, I mean, I agree, because like I said, that one point where it seems like they've lost the Leopards and the Bradleys, it's basically a shallow valley that runs between Russian positions on all sides, and the Russians could just fall back, and you're just going to keep going down this little valley until you hit like a massive double line of entrenchments with a lot of little parts around it. So you're basically fucked. I mean, and they could just close it off anytime. Same with the other one. It's like they started off right off the bat where it's got two lines back to back. And it's like, yeah, go ahead and make that move, but damn, you should have had like hundreds of tubes of artillery firing. And, you know, if you're going to make a punch, you got to put everything in. And it's like
maybe they couldn't because of the those massive explosions that were happening in the back of Kiev's lines.
I did see a video of the Ukrainians. I think they were by a Leopard 2, and the guy was bragging about the ammo they got. It was like a DM 591, which is a Sabo round the Germans make for their tank. And it's not like the oldest one, but it's not the newest best. And he's like, oh, you know, blah, blah, blah. No, D21. The thing is he only had 10 Sabo rounds. And it's like, if I'm on the tank, I'm like, motherfucker, that thing holds 40. Where's my other 30? Not that I'd want all Sabo rounds, but I'm just wondering, like, are they already running low on the 120 ammo, or they're already rationing it out because they can't afford to load these guys up with 40 rounds and then they abandon the tank?
They have to be getting low. That's the only thing I can think of. That's the only explanation for why there was not a massive artillery preparation. That has to be it. That they were not able to do it. And maybe they were hoping that they could throw enough cannon fodder. Maybe they were hoping that they could throw enough cannon fodder and then use what they do have to actually, you know, greater effect.
I mean, they've been hitting the supplies for weeks. They've been hitting troop concentrations. I mean, they talk about, you know, oh, the such and such battalion of the whatever territorial was moving here, and they had some arrivals last night, you know, whatever. So, you know, they're doing that shit. Plus, we've seen the huge explosions, which we don't know what was there. But I'm just saying, I mean, it could be a matter, too. I mean, that would suck to be sent out with, like, a half a load or a quarter load, because that, you know, that doesn't really build a lot of confidence either. I mean, I agree with Dan on that. They picked two horrible places to hit, and then they didn't even hit with everything they had to hit with. I mean, they really had to throw in. They had to throw totally in. I mean, every HIMARS, every D30, everything to have a shot, and they didn't even. I mean, look what happened. It's disgusting what happened to those tanks.
So, how do you think that they'll adapt now? Like, what do you think will be their next? Like, what would Wyatt? Like, when you aggregate all this open source intel, like, what is the consensus there? Like, what are they thinking now? Like, okay, we try to do this punch, however half-hearted it was. Well, what do they do now? Like, they gained some, I guess, some intel on where the Russian positions are, but what is the consensus among what they can do now to make the best out of a bad hand?
I don't know. From how I can feel what's happening is that the Ukrainians launched a massive offensive in the beginning. Like, you know how we play computer games, we just rush the tanks and armor, and it didn't work out. And then so they adapted. So at different front lines, they try to do different things. Maybe they use infantry more. The others on other parts, they try to rush fast vehicles, and the Russians are also adapting. They also seems to be adapting. Like, okay, now we know that maybe this way of defending maybe not so good, so they withdraw. So that's why we see the Ukrainians capturing some towns, because maybe the Russians feel like, it's not very wise to stay there. No, but it's not so clear at this moment. But what it seems to be clear is that the Ukrainians seem to lack air defense. They seems to. It's like there's no Russian aircraft getting shot down. That is very weird. Like, it is unusual, because given the intensity of the fight, we don't see much Ukrainian aircraft getting shot down at the front lines. We don't see much Russian aircraft getting shot down in the front lines. We don't see footages of Ukrainian airstrikes, or even drone strikes, for that matter. We don't see. We don't seem to see a lot of things that we will expect from an offensive, from a Ukrainian offensive. So definitely there is still sufficient artillery on the Ukrainian side, because we do see HIMARS strike hitting the Russian Grad launcher. I saw one video on that. We do see reports that the Ukrainians are bombarding Russian positions. But it's not complete. It just feels like the Ukrainian offensive is just not complete. Yeah.
On that HIMARS thing, there was a story a few months ago, maybe last year, about how they were running out of the good high explosive HIMARS rockets, and they were being forced to send them the anti-personnel rockets. And if you watch that hit on the Grad, that definitely looks like an anti-personnel airburst. And that might be why it wasn't damaged enough and exploded, and it was still able to fire off the rest of its rockets, I guess. So that might be something else that shows that they're running out of stuff and they're using whatever they have. Because they specifically complained about those rockets being ineffective.
I'm sure they're effective for anti-personnel. That's what it looked like. But even a soft.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're in an armored vehicle buttoned up, it ain't going to do nothing to you. It might damage something.
But I mean, Grad is not even really an armored vehicle, right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying that it still looked like it took the hit. It might have been immobilized, but it still fired off the rockets. So I'm just saying, I mean, I remember specifically them complaining about being stuck using those and them not having the desired effects that they would like they were getting with the ones they used on the bridges and stuff.